The Harbor Freight Haul Master Roller Stand. Let's unbox it, let's assemble it, and I'll give you my first impressions. Is it worth the money? Hey everybody, welcome back to the echo chamber known as RATTLECAN Guitar Restorations. I am your host James, and I need to saw a 5-foot long piece of 7/4 walnut. And in order to do that, I need some support on either end of that. So I have trotted down to the local Harbor Freight and looked at a couple of their roller stands. They were on sale for a shade over $16 a piece. They say they're heavy duty ball bearings. It will handle a wide or long board on table saws, drill presses, bandsaws, and more. Says maximum capacity is 132 pounds. Let's pull one out of the box. I'll show you a couple of things that I've already found out about this that you're going to need to watch for if you pick one of these up, and then we'll put it to the test and see how it works. I should say I'm a conditional fan of Harbor Freight. There are times when I need something and I think I only need it to last for a project or two. That's when I go to Harbor Freight. Anemic looking Allen wrench, pre-assembled roller, 2 legs, and 1 base. What's the thing that I have already found out about this? I know it'll come as a surprise, but the directions in the manual don't actually reflect reality. Particularly in this section right here. You will notice there is a bolt that comes up through that leg and then secures to a barrel nut. That's all that illustration shows, but that is not the way life is. Because what I've discovered is that there is a bolt, there is a barrel nut, and then there is a spacer on the inside of this leg. My guess is what they found is that this little teeny tiny Allen head, if you get a big gorilla like me that attempts to tighten this up, there's a really good chance they're going to pull that right through this little thin sheet metal. So what they've done is they've taken a barrel nut blank like this, and it doesn't have any threads on the inside of it, but the bolt will pass through there, so that way when you tighten it down, you basically have the counterpart of this, and you've spaced your pressure out along this much space instead of just that little teeny tiny lip underneath that bolt head. The marketing hype says that this is a heavy duty bearing roller stand. Now, I can't actually see the bearing because it's covered up with this mounting plate. It doesn't appear to be very large. It does not appear to be sealed in any way. I would probably call the BS on it being a proper heavy-duty bearing. That's just me. I understand marketing hype is what it is. Assembly is fairly straightforward, but it's a little tricky because the first thing you have to do is you have to take this barrel nut off. That's not the hard part. The hard part is you now have a bolt going through one of these inside here. And if you are a big gorilla and you happen to pull that bolt out, now this thing is sliding around in here, and you have to screw around with it and get it threaded back through here. So let me save you some hassle and try not to do that. Line your bolt up. As best as you can. Now they have gone through the trouble of providing you with a hex key, a hex wrench, an Allen wrench, whatever you want to call it. Don't send me hate mail. The problem that I've found with it is that it is extremely short. And if you're trying to get any leverage out of this, it's not going to work. So if you happen to have a 5mm sitting around doing nothing, I suggest you use that, because that will allow you to get the leverage on it, like I was doing until I dropped that. The other thing you want to do is try to get this little barrel nut as evenly spaced in that leg as you can, because it is possible to tighten this up and for it to slip out of the hole. We all know that's not any fun. This is the wrench they give you, the silver one, except that when it gets down in there, this doesn't reach all the way in. And how much leverage are you going to get out of that? Just use a proper one. Extract your barrel nut. Slide it in there. And again, center that barrel nut. That way it won't go sliding all cattywampus on you. So there's that part. Now let's get this head, the roller head, on there. Now if we assemble this in the way that it is illustrated in our handy dandy instruction manual, at least in the instance of my 2 rollers, there's a problem. And that problem would be that these holes don't line up. So what I've done is I have flipped this assembly around, and now I can slide my bolt through the slot, and that gives me enough of an angle to which I can actually put the bolt through the hole. So this is my workaround for Harbor Freight's crappy quality control that they can't get 2 holes lined up in order to put a bolt through. So now we have this assembled. Because if there's an Achilles tendon in all of this, I got a pretty good idea this is going to be it. It is a plastic adjustment handle. And it is just, it's very simply, it is a bolt. And this is just like a regular, like a plain Jane plastic, maybe an ABS style handle. There's not a lot to it. So I'm going to have to be my unusual gorilla self and try not to really crank on this, because I can see this going really quick. So now that we've got it assembled, let's go ahead and get the pair of them set up over on this bandsaw that I've got, and I'll show you the whole reason that we bought them. Now what I have is a piece of walnut that's over 5 feet long, and I need to cut some very thin strips out of this part of that wood. Now the problem with that is this is a pretty heavy piece of wood, and what I don't want to do is induce any type of motion like this while I'm trying to cut this little thin piece off of the edge. So I've got one roller backed out to here so that I can come in and I can start my cut. I'm supported back here as I'm sawing along, We're now coming off of the roller and we're fully on the table. And now at this point, we're starting to transition off of the table. And if I rotate this around, you'll notice that this piece of wood is now being caught by this other roller. So then I am able to continue making my cut without fear of this big 5-foot long piece of walnut flapping around and causing me to do some sort of bodily damage to myself. Hey, if you like this episode of RATTLECAN Guitar Restorations, you might want to check this video out as well. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, and if you'd like to help the channel grow, consider stepping over to our Patreon page and giving that a look. Y'all have a good weekend. Cheers.